All right, so if you could start by just introducing yourself and telling us a bit more about who you are.
Hi, I'm Jim Meskimen, and I'm an actor. So that means a lot of things these days because a person doesn't just have to walk on stage, be in front of the camera or in front of the microphone, as I am right now in my booth. You can do commercials, and as I've done many times, video games, audiobooks, films, TV, stories, shorts, social media posts, and on stage too. I do a live show called Impressions, which features a lot of celebrity voices and music and stories and songs and interactive things with the audience. And I like to cheer people up with my performances if possible. But I do like to do drama as well, and I've done a lot of dramas that are, have an effect on an audience as well. The purpose of being an actor, I think, is to excite people in some way and to, give them some cognition about what life is or how they might avoid something or do life better or just enjoy the time they're spending being entertained.
Yeah, have fun, kind of not an escape from reality, but more of just enjoyment overall. That's a good
Sometimes it's
philosophy.
escape reality.
Yeah,
I never put a whole lot of credit on that until a few years ago. And I was like, you know what? Escape from reality is actually quite valuable.
around 2020, I'm guessing. So, yeah, I mean, it's no secret that you do, incredible impressions from George Washington to probably more famously Robin Williams. Australia's even crowned you the world's.
More recognizable than Robin Williams and George Washington. So few of us. There are very
Oh,
few old people around today that really remember what George Washington sounded like.
yeah, I love it. So, how do you go about, other than impressionism, when you see a character for the first time, whether it's recording for like a cartoon or something else, how do you go about giving a character a voice?
Well, it's an artistic choice. You look at it and there are quantitative things that you can look at, I guess. Like if it's a cartoon character that has a very prominent front teeth or something, and it kind of infers that you need to honor that in some way, or else it won't match up, or if it has one snaggle tooth, maybe you'll do this to create a bit of a sound. But it's what they're looking for when they're casting these characters and they're trying to bring voice to it is somebody's take on it, and sometimes it can be surprising. Sometimes uh, thinking of the baby in Family Guy, it doesn't sound like a baby, right? Uh, Sometimes it can be a little bit off type, but it is a 100% creative choice, which means there is no right or wrong answer. It's just what the people putting the project together think, oh, that's funny, or oh, no, that fits, or that's what we're looking for, or oh man, I didn't even think about that before. That's brilliant. It really depends on the individuals that are creating the story, but it's an art form. It's like when you look around your house and you decided to paint the outside of your house, and you and your wife or whatever, you look outside, you go, I don't know, let's see, what do you think about this? No, that's too brown. Well, what about this? No, my brother's house looks like that. It becomes very arbitrary, and that's what's kind of fun and kind of frustrating about it is there is no. I think for people that are used to a very sure path or a very quantitative sort of route to get something done, the arts are not for you because the arts are incredibly arbitrary, and that's I guess the one of the main qualities of it, and one of the main cruelties of it too, because you can be a fantastic actor and be very inventive, and they don't choose you 90% of the time.
Fair enough. So I guess kind of building off of that, when it comes to different types of projects, I'm sure every director has like when they make art where it's theirs, they kind of want it to go in their own way. When it comes to you though, are you given a lot of creative freedom when it comes to trying out different voices, or does that depend on certain projects?
Well, in an audition situation, which I find myself in every day, yeah, you have tremendous creative freedom. You can try whatever you want, um, but they do lay down generally what they're looking for. And in my case, since I'm known as an impressionist and doing different voices, like Patrick Stewart, for example, I realize I've not done a large quantity of voices for you yet today. Or Tommy Lee Jones, the great actor Tommy Lee Jones, somebody like that. there is a certain parameter that, is dictated by the fact that they are wanting you to do that character. So sometimes they will say, well, this is a sound alike. We want you to sound as close as possible to this recording. And they'll give you a little recording or they'll tell you who the actor is. And other times it's like, well, this is a journeyman mercenary sergeant, gunnery sergeant, World War II era. He's from Indiana and he has had his, throat damaged by a rifle butt uh, strike early in his career. So, oh, okay. So you begin to think, okay, those are the clues, and those are the things we kind of have to honor. But you can wander all over the place in there and try to find, what that guy sounds like.
Kind of like a nice balance of it.
Yeah, and
Nice.
it's collaborative, and especially the most collaborative times instantaneously that I've experienced is when I've actually been on a series and I am playing a featured character, and that's like, okay, I auditioned for that and I got that. I'm thinking of a show called Shaggy and Scooby Doo Get a Clue, where I played a robot.
Mhm.
And I came in with an audition that the casting director is a friend of mine today, and he still says, you came in with that voice, and we were so not expecting that. So that was a case where I did something that nobody else did, and they had been hearing other actors do robots all day, and they were like, "Oh my God, this is a great answer to that." And I just made him a very cheerful kind of robot, the kind of person that you might hear at Disneyland telling you to walk down the hall and stay safe. And it fit. It didn't fit, but it anyway, it got me the role. But then, as a part of a series, there are guest stars that come in, other characters that come in to supplement the base crew there, the great featured players, and they'll say, okay, well, who? Let's see, we have a character of a big, shaggy, half man, half dog that enters the scene and says a few lines. Jim, or or you know Tony, whatever. Try this out. What kind of voice would you do? And at that point, you have a kind of a collaboration because you go, oh, I don't know, let's see, what about this? And they go, oh, that's good, but could he be a little Irish? And you go, oh, okay, good, yeah. All right, great, but deeper to separate you out from the other character. Okay, great. So then it becomes it's like mixing paint on a palette in a way, and it's super fun. And like I say, very, very collaborative. And we voice actors are used to manipulating our sound, our pitch, our tempo, rhythm, accents, attack, like music. It's something that it's very easy request. As long as people are nice about it and not saying, oh, it blows, then we're fine. And we can change up and we can really be adjusted or adjust ourselves to fit the circumstance.
Yeah, it seems like there needs to be a lot of flexibility in any aspect of acting, but especially on the actor's part. It's not always like whether it's you or me. Not always one person is right. It's a collaboration, which I love. Now, going back real quick, kind of to your early beginnings, it's no secret that your mom, known better online and to audiences everywhere as Mrs. Cunningham from Happy Days, is very well known in the acting world, and of course, your dad was also featured in many Western films from the 50s. But for you, what inspired you to join the world of entertainment or voice acting?
Well, when I grew up, my father had gotten out of the business and was being a working guy. He was a bank manager, and very few people actually know that my father had anything to do with show business, but you've obviously done your research. Uh, I myself have never seen him on film, so that's how much of a secret it is. But my mom was a working actress, always insisted on it, just plowed that one row and did very, very well. And so I grew up in a family where there was, a little bit of ambivalence about it, but um, it was not discouraged. The arts were not discouraged. I also am a painter and an artist, and so I grew up. My first interest, my first field of interest was painting and drawing, and that's where I thought I was heading. And I went pretty far down that line. I still paint today, but it was a little confusing to me at the time when. I mean, I understood when my mom would go off and do a play or my mom would do a TV show before Happy Days. I understood that that was her job, and it was kind of cool because people People pay attention to you when you're working. If you're on TV, especially in the 60s and 70s, that was like you're on TV. It's like you've gone into space. It's like you've gone into another universe that most people don't get a chance to go to unless their house is on fire and they're being interviewed by the news. So I was interested and curious, and I felt like, I like to play different characters. Like a lot of cartoonists, I find they can also embody the characters that they do. If you ever watch a person drawing a monster, they tend to make the face that they're drawing, and they're being that character as they draw it. Just like a voice artist is being the character as they're in front of the microphone. So I was definitely attracted to it. As I started to say, I got confused when Happy Days became a hit. And that became a whole different thing because that wasn't just acting then. It was like being a star or being connected to a huge, successful kind of viral, uh, enterprise. So that then I began to be like a little confused by the whole thing because then I questioned, forgive me, this is very boring and personal, but I questioned my own worthiness of like the idea of like, well, do I want to be a star? Do I want all that attention? Is that right? Is that really honorable to want all that attention, or do I really like the activity of acting and the camaraderie of it? And it took me a while to sort that out, frankly, because it was a huge hit show at a time when there were three channels available. So, on a Tuesday night, you could watch three different shows, or you could read a book, I guess, or go to the movies, or do your homework. So, I always watched Happy Days. So it took me a while to sort that out, but then I realized, well, no, there is a reason for acting, irrespective of any kind of phenomenal, explosive uh, success and popularity. It is of itself, it is a a nice activity, or one that I enjoy, one that can bring about beneficial results on other people, one that can tell a story, one that assists other businesses, basically. I am assisting as an actor the overall entertainment business, the people that create stories, producers and stuff like that. And I hopefully won't be replaced by AI, which is, of course, a very big concern these days. So that would have made it even more confusing. But so today, here's where I am. I'm a guy who likes to perform on stage in front of a live audience. I like to work. I like to create characters. I like to stretch myself and be challenged. And I'm just trying to stay busy.
I think that's the big part is, and of course it's not boring at all. I mean, if there's a place to open freely, it's here. That was I remember my mom was like, "Oh, why don't you try making a little channel just to see how it goes?" And I kind of had an opposite problem where I'm like, on YouTube there's millions of channels. Everyone can open one. Like, why would people come? And sure enough, if I hadn't have started that, I wouldn't be talking to you or meeting incredible people in the community. So
Yeah.
it's small decisions that make huge impacts, as you're aware.
100%. Small course corrections in the end down the line make a big, big difference. Yeah.
Exactly. Now, main reason that I have you today, or at least one of the main reasons, is you're very well known for being a part of Epic Mickey,
Yeah.
which was a game that came. I still own a copy of Epic Mickey 2, and I'm like, oh well, I got him. I should probably replay the game a little bit, get familiar with it. And I saw the copyright said 2012. I'm like, there's no way. I can't believe it was 12 years ago that came out. Now, you and
Is
I
it,
mean,
is it even something you can pop in and play anymore, or is
I,
it so
I
lost?
still have an original copy for the Wii. I just never sold it.
Technically, but technically, will it operate in your system? Or
They've updated it a little bit. Like, it'll play on more modern. You can still get it on a computer,
okay,
which I never realized. But yeah, so Disney as a company has been making games for many years, and when the original Epic Mickey was announced, it was seen as like this very strange turn for Disney of like, you're gonna take our beloved Mickey Mouse and make him more dark and put him in a grim world. It sounds like an idea that shouldn't work, but it did, at least for the first game. Now, your involvement with the Disney company has gone on for many years at this point. I mean, you've been voicing the Genie in parks and shows since 2009. So, how did you become a part of the original Epic Mickey? Did Disney come and ask you personally, or did you audition?
I auditioned. That's how I've gotten every job with the Disney company. Yeah, I auditioned for the Robin Williams Genie character, and that, as you say, in 2009 began my relationship with them. I still do that, although not right now because we're on strike if it's a game. But and then yeah, the Epic Mickey came up, and it was an audition, and they said there's this Mad Doctor character, and he's it was they had a reference from an earlier. The Mad Doctor appears in some short, probably from the 1930s. And so they said, "This is the voice we're trying to match." And there's probably a lot of guys that could do that, frankly. But for whatever reason, I got the nod. They wanted to work with me, or I came the closest, or a combination of those things. And in Epic Mickey 1, that's kind of all he does, if I recall. He kind of rubs his hands gleefully and runs around and grunts and uh, has moments of disappointment. And I didn't play the game, so I can't tell you the full range of what he is capable of doing. But I remember that we recorded a lot of things. There were frankly a lot of nonverbal things, and certainly no songs. And then in Epic Mickey 2, they came back, and then I did not have to audition because I'd claimed the role. I'd won the role of Epic Mickey, the Mad Doctor, from my work at Epic Mickey 1. So then they said, now in this one, he actually has a few musical numbers. I said, are you kidding? And they said, yeah, yeah, he's got. And as it turned out, he has quite a few musical numbers, and not simple musical numbers. They were long, complex, to me, ballads, and like Andrew Lloyd Webber structured things. And I'm a singer. I've sung all my life. I love to sing. I'm not a trained singer. I don't read music. So it was like, okay, this is daunting. I would, because I can learn things pretty quick, but when they were very subtle, and the changes were very, very delicate, and it's like, well, it's not that note, it goes up a little bit. You hear that note, and I go, oh yeah, I hear that change. Yeah. So I had to be walked through it very methodically and very patiently by Ben Hoppy, who was the director of the voice actors. And I had just a simple piano track that I was singing to, and we just went through it again and again, and picked up little bits and repaired little things and assembled those songs. And it was a couple of sessions, a couple of very long sessions, I think, doing all that. If I remember rightly, it might have been more than two, to piece together all of those musical numbers, which are big and expansive and operatic, and all in this kind of voice like this. So it was exhausting, and a real challenge. And I'd come out of it going, man, thank God, Ben, you know what you're talking about, because he does read music, and he does have a musical sense, and is a very good director, and has become a really great friend. So we got through it. It was like crawling on our hands and knees through a muddy battlefield occasionally. At least that's as close as I'll come to a muddy battlefield this lifetime.
Yeah, I remember the game came out and everybody was like, you know, we don't really understand why he's singing. We're not opposed to it, but we're just kind of confused. But I mean,
Well, that
some
made
people
two of
loved it.
us.
Yeah, some people loved it. Some people, were kind of opposed to just to sing. But personally, I was just like, oh, this is Disney, though. This is
Yeah.
like you
What are you
think of
going to do?
Disney,
It's
it's
artistic. Again, it's an artistic choice. Somebody went, I think this, like, well, okay, there's no right or wrong. The other thing I wanted to mention that was funny was that, so I do that, as I said, I did do like what's called a click, almost a click track. It's just a scratch track of one person on a piano playing all the melodies, and that was what I recorded to. And then we went away, we went our separate ways, and they worked on the game, and it might have been a year or more later, possibly longer. I don't remember, but it was a good long amount of time when I'd forgotten the whole thing and spent the money. Uh, and then they said, "Hey, we have a there was so much music in the game that they made a CD would you like that? And I said, would you like to have a copy? And I said, absolutely. I'd love to have a CD because I'm not a gamer, so I didn't play the game. So my connection with it ended when I walked out of the studio. So they sent me the CD and I popped it in. And then they had laid in all the orchestra behind my vocals. So that was a very weird sensation of like, when did I do this Broadway show? It was so fulsome and rich and nuanced and I mean, I don't know, 50-piece orchestra, 60-piece orchestra. I don't know. And my voice doing what I had done in the studio behind it, all coming together in a beautiful tapestry. I was like, wow, this is nuts. It was an out of body experience. It was like, when was I there? What were we on stage somewhere? Was it at the Kennedy Center on Broadway? What happened? Crazy.
I don't remember this on Hamilton. So you didn't hear it.
Exactly.
You didn't hear any of the music fully done until after the game
No,
had come out.
no, I heard a piano track.
That's crazy. I mean,
Yeah, I imagine it's very common, but I'd never had that experience before. And we're like about five numbers that he has in it. He has like five long numbers and a lot of little phrases and things. And it was like, this is a lot of material. And so that was funny.
yeah, I remember the. For some reason, I recall like the songs being rather short, kind of just a little something so that the player could listen to. And then I started listening to the game because they're just on a Spotify. They're right online. I'm like, this is a 2.5 minute. This is a song. This is huge. So I imagine that was a huge commitment on everyone's part, but especially yours with the voice of the Mad Doctor in mind. Um,
Exactly. It's on Spotify. I'll have to go look for it.
yeah. Well, I actually typed in because I'm like, well, he sung in the game. I wonder if he sings anywhere else. So I typed in, Jim Meskimen, and it's like, no, we got nothing. I'm
No,
like, okay, Mad
not on
Doctor.
Spotify.
Mad Doctor popped up. So I'm like,
That's
all right.
hilarious.
Now, making a game, whether no matter what kind of game it is, it's not an easy process. Development can change for a huge bunch of different reasons, whether it's the budget or time constraints. And when it came to Epic Mickey 2, there seemed to be a lot writing against it. Story elements were being changed rather late in development, and from others have reported that this led to a few voice re-recordings in order to match with a new story that the game's director Warren Spector quickly created. Now, the Mad Doctor is playing a big role in the game. I don't know, would you happen to recall any of the original story or how your character's involvement changed in between?
Well, just he became a major character and had a lot of singing to do. I wasn't privy to all the changes, and there weren't a lot of like re-records, as I recall. It was, and not from a plot point of view. The plot didn't change too much that I recall.
Oh, well,
Yeah.
makes it easy on your part then.
Yeah, any of the changes that took place were way behind the scenes, and I mean, there are always little adjustments that get made, and it's very common in games and in animation to have another session where they go, oh, we figured out that you're actually 50 feet away from this guy, so you need to record you speaking louder. We go, okay, cool. And there's certain things that they discover in the process of making the project where they go, okay, well, we actually need to get the actor in to fix this. But just don't remember too much happening. I just remember being so focused on trying to duplicate these melodies that were so beautifully put together.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot that goes in. I'm sure when it comes to voice acting versus actually building the game from the ground up, I'm sure there's a lot going on behind the scenes. Um,
It's mostly all that stuff. My part is very much on the surface, just laying like the Earth's crust over this a huge mantle and mass of granite and seething magma.
yeah, which are the developers, I guess. The
The
our
developers,
our
yeah.
Magna is code.
Yeah.
So, you've mentioned singing was mainly your big takeaway from the game. Would you say that was your favorite time during the development of the games, or do you have any just fun moments?
Yeah. Yeah, no, that was my involvement with it. There were a few lines and a lot of singing in Epic Mickey 2 especially, and that was my complete and total involvement with the project. So I was there as a it was a singing gig. I was doing musical comedy, so it was great. I've done, as I said, a fair amount of singing from time to time, even as Robin, the Blue Genie. I've had to sing and enjoyed that a lot. Mostly reprising some of his songs. And I had a very big viral hit with Jib Jab, which you may recall.
Hmm.
You're probably very young, but yeah, the This Land um, was a early kind of cutout animation phenomena that was George W. Bush and uh, I'm forgetting his name, uh, the other guy,
The other one.
and Bill Clinton and Arnold Schwarzenegger, John Kerry, that was his name. I think John Kerry's still around. But yeah, so I did those, and those were all singing. Singing George Bush. So I had to figure out the singing voice of "This land is your land, this land is my land. I'm a Texas tiger, you're a liberal wiener." So I had to figure out, what would he sound like if he was singing, and that was very simple in comparison to Epic Mickey because that's a very simple Woody Guthrie song. I knew it already. I knew the melody. Anytime that I worked with Jib Jab, they were borrowing a melody and doing a parody song. So I was like, all right, this is not too tough. This is this is the song everybody knows. I couldn't sing it wrong if I tried. But then then you have to add characters, impressions on top of that. And in some cases, we have not heard these people sing. Like John Kerry, we've not heard John Kerry sing. I don't think he's probably ever sung in his entire life. Maybe he has. So I had to create a kind of way I thought he'd sing, and that's how I performed it. And that's creative and fun. And that again was very much a collaboration with Greg and Evan Spirit Ellis, the Jib Jab guys, and like they would go, yeah, and massage things. They heard it very well in their head, being two collaborative souls, practically one person. Sometimes they would say, "Okay, hey, we hear it a little bit more like this," and I'd go, "Really? Are you sure?" Because yeah, that's how we hear it. Like, okay, I'll defer to you. And yeah, so singing is a lot of fun. I think most people in the world, in America, let's say, we don't have a very we don't have a very publicly singing sort of society anymore. We might have at one point, but today it's it's very um, it's very fraught with self-evaluation, and so people are easily embarrassed. Like they're just triggered by the idea of singing, and so uh, any of us who like to sing have had to work through that in one way or another, either just by being stubborn and loving singing, or by other means. But we've gotten through the kind of barrier of oh, don't sing, you're tone deaf, or oh, you shouldn't ever sing, or oh, you think that's good, I don't think that's good, oh, you're pitchy, or whatever. All these kind of voices that either actual voices of your so-called friends or voices in your head telling you that you don't sing well. I think so. If one can push through that, and there's a lot of benefit. There's a big prize at the end of pushing through that and being able to sing about anything. And I was fortunate to get involved with an improv community in New York where we had a lot of musical improv. We had a lot of singing that was made up. And that's what kids do all the time. We did that as kids. You kind of make up a song. I've got a red pony and he likes to go up the mountain and he has a long tail. And you don't think anything about it because you're not being judged. You're not in front of a firing squad. But as you're an adult, suddenly you feel like, oh, this is just unjustifiable what I'm doing. I can't account for this. This may be hurting another person by my singing, which is bullshit. So so I got involved with this improv company. Long story short, we did a lot of singing, improvised singing, and I got over any kind of trepidation about singing in public. So now I do in my live show, I always improvise a song at some point.
Yeah, I think that's one of the it's just something sad to see is a lot of people like when they are adults, especially like in their 20s or 30s, it's kind of more of the fresh of like, oh man, I'm just gonna stay in my lane. We'll keep it easy, and it's like, no, just go and have fun. It's no one
Fun.
cares
Yeah,
as much as you think they do negatively.
100%. 100%. Yeah. Yeah, I'm glad you
So
realize that. Yeah. As if there's one black enchantment that I could release America from, it would be get over your voice. Just sing.
if there was a surgery to take the voice out of people's head, people would take it in a heartbeat. Now,
100%.
earlier we talked a bit about AI, which is like we've been talking about. It's something that's really taking over more often. Honestly, I don't really see it going away. But in recent years, it has started to overtake our creative lives of art, music. Like we've talked about before, SAG-AFTRA is currently on strike in the gaming community, mainly because of AI voice acting. So, just on a baseline level, what's your take on AI? Do you see any benefits of it in the future, or is it just going to take over?
Well, as more intelligent and informed people than myself have noted, it's a tool, just like digital photoshopping is a tool. Uh, and I think it is it is such a uh, a disruptor that it I think it begs to be uh, known a lot about. People need to know a lot about it, and controls do have to be put in on it. The usage of it, but it is a tremendous work saver. I mean, just staggeringly. And the more examples I see of it, I'm like, wow, I didn't know a machine could do that. But um, as I say, it's a huge disruptor, and we're all sort of feeling like, wow, what doesn't this apply to? What mightn't this completely kind of cave in industrially? And I can't think of very many things that wouldn't be severely affected by using AI and kind of defaulting to that. That being said, um, I it just makes the case for me. Uh, it's like when you squeeze a balloon, one part gets small and the other part gets large. So AI comes in, and suddenly you can mechanize a lot of the creative process. However, it's all derivative because that's the nature of it. It is all scrubbing and scraping and absorbing content that has already been issued and maybe reworking it a little bit, but it's dependent on earlier artwork, earlier creation, earlier communication. Live human communication is dependent on those things in a different way and involves actual creation. AI can't actually create. It's not an actual creative force. It is a reworking, it is a conversion entity. So actual live human communication is not going away, and in fact is the basis of everything decent and interesting in the culture. So we're just trying to protect that and honor that and not throw the baby out with the bathwater. And it's interesting. It's definitely a disruptor. It's definitely worrisome, and it'll definitely be abused. I'm sure it's being abused right now. I mean, there's all kinds of things in the political realm where you go, well, that's not quite right. That's let's get some ethics in there. But it also it's sort of I think that the AI revolution, if I can paint it with an even broader brush, more philosophical brush, is that the AI revolution points out the real problem on the planet, or one of the main problems on the planet, which is a lack of ethics, and and it's like really rubbing our noses in it, as if war didn't do that enough. But AI does it, I think, even more because it's like saying, here's the question, what is more valuable, a machine or a human being? Machine can do everything a human being can do, kind of, but much, much faster. much less error. But the human being is the one that plugs in the machine and turns the machine on. So what are we talking about? So that big question is a great question to have to wrestle with because we're wrestling with it anyway. It just kind of brings it up to the surface, I think. And I hadn't used I've been shying away from using AI on anything really on my computer because probably in my very paranoid primitive way, I'm worried about it absorbing information from my universe, from my photos and my writings and so forth and my videos. So I've been like kind of like I don't want to let it in like it's a disease. Probably it doesn't work that way, but I did recently, now you're getting these prompts like I forget what platform it was, LinkedIn or something, and I'd written a communication to somebody in a little email message or a text message, and it said, "Do you want AI to rewrite this for you?" And I went, I don't know. Maybe let's see what that seems pretty safe. It's just a little message. Let's see what happens. And it gave me the choice of make it funnier. I'm like, make it funnier. Okay, well, and in my mind, I'm like, well, this is going to be funny in a way that AI doesn't mean it to be funny, right? This is going to be kind of slapdash or kind of not right. So I clicked on the little icon, and it's fun, and it made it whimsical. It added in some things because I'd mentioned Jim Henson in my communication. And so it said something like, I don't know if Kermit would want to do that, but blah blah blah. And I'm like, wow. So it extrapolated because I'd said Jim Henson, I'd not mentioned Kermit. It went there, just like anybody might, just like somebody on the street might. So then I was like, boy, that really gives me pause. Like, man, now I feel like I'm being really spied on. But I was impressed by the fact that it could so quickly scrub the entire world of information, realize I was talking about Jim Henson, integrate a little whimsical reference to Kermit without changing my communication, and say, hey, we think this is funnier. And I'm like, I know television executives that couldn't make that leap. So,
It's it's just amazing to see how much AI companies as a whole are trying to like really push its use, especially during the Olympics. There was a small commercial that really caught my attention as Google was saying, "Hey, we're releasing, I think it's called like Gemini or something," and their big tagline was like, "You can do it. You just believe in yourself." I'm like, hold on, and then they show people like
hold on.
using the AI saying like, "Write a letter to my niece," and I'm like, what? The big part is you're not doing it. So, I mean, even like on Zoom right now, I didn't realize it until I started the meeting. There's a little button for AI
Yeah.
companion.
Yeah.
It's honestly everywhere, and like we mentioned, it's not going anywhere honestly. And a quick quote that I want to bring up of yours, which I absolutely loved, was in one of your videos you uploaded while you were touring around. And it goes, sometimes people forget that life is very willing and able to mold, alter, and even shrink you. But only when you decide to turn the tables of life by being creative does the game start to be full of fun, adventure, and sometimes miracles. I really wanted to bring that up because I think it's a beautiful quote. Honestly, it's something that creativity is something that really holds my foundation in life. So more of still sticking with AI for a little bit. What does that quote mean to you, and how do you see AI impacting our creativity, like in the future?
Well, thank you, and thanks for requoting my quote to me.
Yes,
Uh,
sorry.
I know that's fine. I'm happy. I stand by what I said. I approve this message. I think, yeah, I think it's what we've been talking about. The human beings are individuals. We are, I believe, spiritual beings. We have bodies, we have minds, but we are, in essence, something else. We are capable of creating energy. We are capable of creating thought and ideas and concepts and communication, and that's what we do all day long. And there should be a lot of freedom in that. And that's why I can't really bemoan too much the AI phenomenon because somebody created that. Someone went, I wonder, could we create, you know, and they figured out how to do AI. And but it's a little bit like the atomic bomb. It's like, I wonder, could we level a city with an explosion? You know, a bunch of guys get together and it all seems fine in a room. And then they go, we don't put together a little test and do a little, just a small one, and like in Oppenheimer, it's all these guys and it's like their job and they need money and it's wartime and they want to save their country and they want to feed their families and this is kind of exciting because it's secret and a lot of big scientists are involved and I imagine that's some flavor of that was involved in the creation of AI of like, ooh, can we do this? Ooh, it could be dangerous. We could have a big effect. Everybody would, this will change the world. This will change the world. We all want to change the world, right? Oh, this will make it better, make things easier. And that's all great. Uh, so I have respect for that impulse. That's what I'm trying to do in my small way. I'm trying to do it with much less disruptive tools and in a more of a traditional sense for sure. But I don't know. We're all trying to create an effect in this world, right? And the judgment call is the effect I'm trying to create going to enhance the lives of people and animals and plants and the planet and individuals and my family and me personally, is it going to enhance those things, increase their ability to survive and do well, or is it going to take big bites out of the population or my family or my health or whatever. You have to. There's all these judgments, and like you said, the little judgments that we make all day long. And so, again, anyone who's using AI has to make those judgments, and of course, the fear is that those judgments in themselves, that adjudication of is this good, is this right, should we use AI, will itself become automated. And then I think we're really in trouble, because it's like, wow, we need human gauging of is this the right thing to do? Because humans are human centric, you could say. We care about humanity more than a program might or an app might, which is a soulless set of reactions, really, just rapid reactions. So it's like the people you are probably are like me, and you like people who are genuine. You like people who, when you talk to them and ask them a question, they answer that question and not some other question that you haven't asked. Or when you talk to them and say hello, they say hello back, in a genuine kind of like, oh, I see you way. I had a conversation with a guy yesterday. Uh, a stranger, I saw it. I had to get some printing done, so I went to a little copy shop nearby. And a guy walked in, and we both had to wait a little bit for the person to finish my job and get onto his. And so I engaged him in conversation. And I said, it's really hot out today, because it is. It's really freaking hot out in LA. And the guy says, oh, well, I'm really worried about next year. It's going to be even hotter because of global warming. Now, irrespective of how you feel about global warming, all that, I'm not trying to make that point. I'm trying to make the point of like, I just said, it's hot out. And he was like, next year, it's going to really be hot. Okay. And then I went, wow, yeah, yeah, I guess that's true. Then there was a little pause and we were so silent and he didn't engage me again. So I said, I thought, well, I'll share a little thing with him. So I said, when I was a little boy, I've just lived here in this town. And I remember it was so hot like this that I used to go up the street in my bare feet to my neighbor's house who had a pool and I used to burn my feet. And he said, goddamn Republicans should be put in jail because they don't believe in global warming. And anyway, he went off on a thing. And I was like, am I talking to a machine? It seemed like just a reaction. And so when you get in a conversation with someone, you want someone to say, "Oh yeah, I used to do that too. I used to go to my neighbor's house." And, oh, you had a neighbor with a pool. You're lucky. I didn't have a neighbor for miles. I didn't have a pool. We had to drive to a public pool. Something that like indicates that I heard what you said.
You
So
build that personal connection compared to just someone who wants to get into an argument.
Yeah, yeah, it was amazing.
God,
I was really gobsmacked, as the British say.
yeah, I'm just imagining that situation. Like, oh, it's the Republicans with that one copy, please. it, oh, it's ridiculous. And yeah, I mean, unfortunately, it's one of those. I really hope that one day we all wake up and kind of see the human connection is still alive. It's still something that is with us all. I mean, recently, especially just in like certain areas, they're starting to, like in McDonald's, I read recently, they're getting rid of some of the drive-through people and replacing them with a robot. And I'm like, okay, well, naturally, people will go like, this is outrageous. I can't believe it. Ah, blah blah blah. No, people were like, well, thank God someone's gonna finally listen to my answer and get it right. And I'm like, okay, but you see how you're the problem here. Like, you can't be a hypocrite.
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah. I am one of those people that if I go to the grocery store and there's a choice between the self checkout and a long line at the person, I'll go to the person for the same reason. And in the case of those McDonald's people, I mean, they're remember these are people that think McDonald's food is food, so
yeah,
they're already, I think, kind of got turning a blind eye to some pretty obvious things.
yeah. Trust me, I haven't eaten McDonald's in years. I think it was the like years ago when they were like, oh, the chicken patty sandwich is like goop or a weird pink sludge, and I'm like, yeah, but I know what's in my chicken sandwiches. Or just like, I after that, I think I started learning how to cook for my own. So we are coming up to the end of our little conversation. So I guess just gonna open the floor to you real quick. There's a lot of people many people out there who are involved with game development or voice acting. I know personally I've tried to get into it, and it's making these channel or these kinds of videos. It's helped with my voice. It's helped with my inflection a lot. But I still, like many, don't really know how to get my foot into the world of whether it be indie films or games or just voice acting as a whole. So for those out there listening, what advice do you have for them?
Well, these days, I always advise to make your own projects, to dive into it and actually be, if you want to be an actor, there are ways to be an actor today. You could be one today. You could make a little, you could come up with an idea, a scene or something, or a recreation of something that you saw, and get your camera and make a little movie. I think get involved in the activity because uh, being causative that way to actually getting into action on it is that's what anybody does, and any star, any big celebrity, any working actor that you've ever met has done that to some degree, in different ways depending on what generation we're talking about. But we've gotten involved in theater, we've done little plays, we've thrown together a showcase or a one-man show. By the way, my one-man show will be September 13th at the Gary Marshall Theater in Burbank. I've been doing that since about 1985, and it's going to be a really swell show. I do that because it keeps me, it reminds me that I'm an actor. If you're waiting, if you find yourself waiting or hoping that somebody will find you and you haven't even baited the hook, so to speak, you haven't put anything out there for someone to be attracted to, then you're going to wait, a few lifetimes. It's going to take a while. So, get busy, make something like you're doing with your podcast is good. Now, if you have something you like, wow, I really like characters, I like superheroes, or I like whatever, then figure out a way to create some of that content, even if it's just a recording, and share that with other people. Write a little story, get together with friends and do a little reading of something. Get busy and get creative. That's always the answer. And connections happen that way, and inspiration happens. And there are people out there that are looking for someone to do voices for their project, and they need you. So you have to kind of say, hey, I do that, and here's what it sounds like, and be willing to repeat that over and over again. That's, I think, one of the great lessons too, is that it's not just wow, I sent out 60 postcards that show my headshot, and that's what I did in 2023. And now in 2024, I'm wondering, should I do it again? Yeah, you should have probably sent it out this 12 times during 2023. Don't be afraid to repeat your message, is what I'm saying. If you think about a company like McDonald's or a company like Coca-Cola, how many times have they pinged you with uh, their logo, their message, their song, their billboard? I don't know, 20 times a day? Uh, who knows? I mean, if you went around counting it, it would be like, wow, they call it what, engagements or not engagements, or there's a word for it. But anyway, how many times have they actually impacted your field of vision or your ears? It's many, many, many times. They don't seem to care. And we don't have to care either as performing artists. So we have to like figure out a way to get over ourselves and send another letter, create another recording, make another YouTube video, put it out on social media, do it again the next day, and get some attention.
And that's the big thing. It's a very scary world because there's so much of this almost fear of Hollywood as a whole of just like, oh, it's a bunch of hungry sharks out to get you, when there are genuine people such as yourself in there who are willing to help and are nice. I mean, it's that we all have a phone. It's as easy as that. Just turn it on. All right. So before we wrap up, was there anything else you wanted to bring to the table or bring up? I mean, we're getting to the
Get
end.
to the nitty gritty. Yeah, I think I've pounded on my soapbox or crawled on it or whatever you do with a soapbox. Does anyone buy soap in boxes anymore? I don't know, but I have online courses at myself actually where I go into great detail about the voiceover career, the acting career, and doing impressions. And if you go to jimcourses.com, I believe that's the address, and you can download those. And also, I'm on YouTube and Instagram all the time. I'm constantly creating things again to call attention to create, also to lighten people's days. I get a lot of nice comments like, your little posts they make me smile. I'm like, okay, good. I made a stranger in Scandinavia smile. That is great. That's my pay. But also my live show, September 13th, Friday the 13th in September at the Gary Marshall Theater in Burbank. There's very few tickets left. Actually, we're almost sold out, but we'll add another show on Saturday the 14th.
Going to do a Broadway style show on Friday the 13th in a theater.
Yeah.
We'll even throw in Macbeth impressions.
Well, I'll do my Shakespeare, my famous Shakespeare and celebrity voices. I'll do, and my rap song about being on a Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, and my famous ABC's song, and a lot of musical numbers actually. And I'm writing a new song right now with my collaborator Noah Sunday Lefkowitz. We're writing a song about my mom, about being the son of Mrs. C. So nice. That's gonna debut on that show.
Oh, lovely. All right. Well, before we go, I am supposed to let you know because my dad was like, "I'm gonna watch this interview. I wanna make sure." So, just want to let you know, Mom, Dad, Grandma, and Papa, they all say hello. They're big fans of you from before.
Nice.
I called my grandparents. I'm like, hey, guess what? Like, I'm talking to Jim Meskimen, and my papa knew instantly who you were. I'm like, oh. So,
nice.
Yeah, so it was very nice. But anyway, it was great.
All my best to your parents and your grandparents, and tell them for me, and I suppose I'm speaking to them now if they're watching, that I'm a great admirer of the results of your family tree. This top branch, this little sprig at the very top of the huge edifice of your family tree is quite impressive. He's a very communicative and very intelligent young man. Well done, I say.
I thank you. I will. I'm just going to trim everything out. I'm going to send this to them and be like, I've made it. All right. Well, it was great talking to you.
Thanks, Jared. Thanks a lot.
All right. So now we can all breathe for a minute. Thank God. Yeah.
That was fun.
It was.